with patchy drizzle, mist and fog, lowest temperatures of 3 to 7 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
The reincarnation of Margaret Thatcher. There's just not much you can say back to that when there's cameras everywhere.
No, and well, this is what happens during an election. It gets spun out in a different way on every medium, and on radio you don't see obviously what happens next. That obviously Leo Varadkar's prepared, it seems, to maybe engage. But the guy's gone.
Good luck. See ya.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
And then some journalist.
Boom.
What do you say to that, Leo? Are you the reincarnation of Margaret Thatcher? So, to update people on what's going on, and then we'll get into a bit more detail on each of these games. Bournemouth 3-0 up on Brighton now. It's turning into a night of relief, I would think, more than anything, for Eddie Howe. Aston Villa have equalised against Watford, so it's 1-1 at Villa Park. Southampton 2-0 up away to Crystal Palace. Armstrong with their second goal. Redmond scored the first. Everton, a good night for them as well. Moise Keane scored their first on 30 minutes. Dominic Calvert-Lewin on 54 minutes has put them 2-0 up. Manchester City have broken the deadlock. Who else? Aguero at Bramall Lane on 73 minutes, so they're 1-0 up. And then Chelsea 1-0 up at home to Arsenal. That one is at half-time. Let's work our way backwards. Chelsea's goal.
Oh, a David Luiz masterclass.
Oh, no.
So, well, it was an Arsenal defensive. Absolute shambles. Started with Socrates, who played the ball back to Mustafi, but it was a poor pass behind Mustafi, who, under a little bit of pressure from a Chelsea player, tried to knock it back sort of on the half volley to the goalkeeper, but sold him a little bit short. So the Chelsea player intercepts, goes around keeper, but is going a little bit wide, and David Luiz just clatters him straight into the back. No intention really of playing the ball. So it is that double jeopardy that you can get away with. If you try and get the ball, you'll get the yellow card and the penalty kick, but because he made no attempt.
Red.
Straight red card, penalty kick, Jorginho scores. David Luiz was also sent off once upon a time for Chelsea against Arsenal in this fixture.
It is an amazing thing when you think about it. Certain things are in the DNA of a club. It is amazing that Arsenal have been so bad at defending for such a long time with different players and different managers and different coaches. One of the easier things to get right as well. Nigel Pearson just goes into Watford and makes them better at defending. Tony Pulis goes in, give me 3 days with them, they'll be decent defensively. It's actually amazing that Arsenal haven't managed to have decent defenders, even just by fluke.
Well, so the actual calibre of defenders they have aren't good enough right now. Like the actual players that are there as defenders. David Luiz, you can see why teams buy him. Yeah. If you want to play a certain style of football, fine. But he's by far and away the best of the Arsenal defenders. And still, you never quite trust him. It seems that Arsenal looked at it over the last couple of summers as, well, maybe it's that midfield area is the problem. That if we could shore that up, well then the defence won't have quite as much to do. And Torreira comes in, Guendouzi is promoted, Xhaka is still there. But the amount of space every team gets in behind, like Xhaka again, you're diving into challenges. Like literally one of the challenges he dived into head first. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And Chelsea have looked good without having had to do a huge amount.
We were bemoaning Pepe at one stage in the first half, just watching outside, because they've signed him for a lot of money. He just hasn't convinced. He's not a footballer. Not really. He's never convincing on the ball. I'm not sure he makes the greatest decisions either. He looks fast, sure, but for 70-odd million, and I know a lot of that 70-odd million are add-ons and bonuses and appearance clauses and all that kind of stuff, but still, a very underwhelming signing.
But away, well, he has been, but away from Pepe, who is playing well? Like, who are the guys that are standing up that you go, looks a footballer?
Yeah.
Away from Aubameyang.
I think Guendouzi's shown a bit of promise. There's potential there.
A little bit of promise, but still, time and time again, you see him and you just wonder, is there any sign of progression? We were over there a few weeks ago with Gary Breen, and like Gary is a big fan, I think, about Guendouzi and Torreira, and obviously feels quite passionately about Arsenal, and like he's looking at them now going like, where you'd expect him to have stepped on over the last 18 months hasn't happened. The same lack of awareness, and like this sort of thing from Luiz sets them back massively. There's been no momentum under Arteta. That victory against Manchester United seems to say more about Manchester United than it does about where Chelsea are right now, and it's a long way back. They're nowhere near contesting for Champions League place. As poor as Chelsea, United and Spurs have been, Arsenal are way back.
I'm jumping a little bit to Louise's defence there, having seen it, because Mustafi's back pass to Leno is a disgrace.
Well, Louise maybe can try and do something slightly different to avoid the penalty and the red card, but he's put in a horrible position by Mustafi.
Elsewhere, should we check in some of these games then? Let's get the half-time from Stamford Bridge. So that is Nigel Bidmead there between Chelsea and Arsenal.
Chelsea 1, Arsenal 0. Arsenal playing with 10 men after David Luiz was sent off for conceding a penalty in the 27th minute. A woeful back pass from Mustafi. Tammy Abraham was onto it, went round the goalkeeper, and Luiz barged him over as he was about to shoot. Red card for Luiz. Jorginho stepped up from the spot and beat Bernd Leno for his 7th goal of the season. Arsenal in for a long night. Chelsea 1, Arsenal 0.
It's coming to a close between Bournemouth and Brighton. 85 minutes on the clock. Let's check in on that game. Vitality Stadium in Wilding.
It's now AFC Bournemouth 3, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. The Seagulls getting a goal there from Aaron Moy, the Australian. Left-footed strike after Simon Francis headed it straight to him, in off the post. And with 9 minutes to go, maybe it's not over just yet. Bournemouth 3, Brighton 1.
Eddie Howe breathing sigh of relief.
Well, reading a little bit quicker right now, I'd say, as they entered the final stages there. So still 3-1. Callum Wilson got a goal. Obviously, famously hadn't had a single shot on target in about 4 months. They're still in the relegation zone. That, maybe because of Liverpool running away with the title, we'll focus quite a bit on Champions League, but relegation definitely feels as though every team behind Arsenal in the table right now, from Newcastle, Burnley, Brighton, Watford, West Ham down, are going to be right in it.
Yeah, all in the mix.
There's no great players in those teams. There's no one standout who you feel is going to score that 8 to 10 goals over the next few weeks to save them.
Let's check in at Bramall Lane before we go to Martin Lipton. Sheffield United against Manchester City here. Lee Stott.
Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1. Sergio Aguero, a 21st goal of the season, breaking the deadlock late on in the second half. He tapped in after a great ball from the right from Kevin De Bruyne. Not long before, 2 good chances for the home side. Sub Lee Smousse tried to backheel it in after keeper Edison spilled from a Chris Basham cross. And then Ollie McBurney was inches away from getting a stretched out foot to tap in after a wonderful close passing move. It's Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1.
Aguero just off the bench. Kevin De Bruyne, brilliant pass. Aguero's first touch, sensational. And after that controversy about the penalty kick, Joe, City get the goal.
They sure do. So that's where we are. We have City winning. We have Chelsea 1-0 up in Arsenal. We have Everton 2-0 up in Newcastle. Crystal Palace 0, Southampton 2. Villa and Watford 1-0. And we have Bournemouth 3, Brighton 1. So Jose Mourinho is talking today in his press conference, and he was asked about Troy Parrott, given the Harry Kane situation, obviously going to be out for some time, if not the rest of the season. And Irish ears pricked up when somebody asked about Troy Parrott. Might we see a bit more of him?
I'm ready to answer you because I had a long conversation with him today. So I'm ready to share with you a little bit. I think he has potential. I think he needs to work a lot. I think he has a process to go through, a process that probably Tanganga had it. One thing is 17, another thing is 20. We are speaking about 3 years of distance, and 3 years, okay, in Tanganga's case, was 3 years without a Premier League match. But was 3 years of working, of playing in his age groups, in playing in England national team that also gave him some experience. I think Troy has to go through a process. Can he have minutes? Yes, he can have minutes. I'm not saying that he cannot have minutes, but to put on his shoulders the responsibility of replacing somebody too big to be replaced, I don't think he's ready. We have Martin Lipton, the Sun's Deputy Head of Sport, was on the line. Evening, Martin.
Good evening.
Even mustering up as much Irish bias as we can, that's all fairly reasonable on Troy Parrott.
Well, I'd have thought so, but others would doubtless disagree. He's a young boy. He's not ready yet, and it would be wrong and unfair to throw him in at the deep end, because the confidence blow that it could do to him if he doesn't work out could be immense for someone that young. I do think it would be beneficial for him to get some game time at some stage. But let's be honest, Spurs aren't exactly in a great position where they can throw players in, because they'll be fed to the wolves at the moment, because they're just not playing very well collectively. And so it's a little bit of a defensive mechanism by Mourinho as well, not making him a hostage to fortune, which he would be if he was playing him and he was being judged. He'd be judged as a bloke, as a man, and he's not. He's a boy still.
Yeah, no, we all thought that was fair enough, to be honest. He's still only 17. What's the word, though, on how he's settled in and the impression he's making, and what is the feeling on his potential?
Well, they think he's clearly a talented chap, and they think they've got a chance to make a real player out of him. But of course, the development at young players can be a bit hit and miss. It can go in spurts where you do really well, and then you can drop off a little bit. And probably next season, Tottenham would look to be sending him out on loan, I think, to try to get some game time, playing men every week, whether that be in League One or League Two. Exactly what they did with Kane. He went out on loan to Millwall and Orient, and then Leicester and Norwich before they decided to have a look at him in the first team. And that was, he was at 21 by the time he's playing the first team, which is 4 years down the line. Now, if his development is quicker than that, he'll be in earlier. If he is good enough, if he scores goals, if he looks like he can cope with the physicality of playing against grown men. But it would be foolish to rush it when it's not good for the player or, in truth, necessary.
Mourinho's current attacking options then of Lucas Moura and Heung-min Son, neither of them are that sort of traditional number 9 that Harry Kane would be. The chances of a replacement coming in for him between now and the end of the month, is it a loan deal? Do they go and potentially spend big? Is that player even out there at this time? Or do you think Mourinho would be satisfied getting to the end of the season with just Son and Moura?
Well, if he was playing like Pochettino plays, he could do that. But they don't. Mourinho likes a 9, a target man, to play off. So where does he find one? Is he going to buy one? No, because Daniel Levy is not going to pay stupid money for a player who's going to be second choice as soon as Harry Kane gets back. However, maybe someone like Alcacer at Dortmund, who's suddenly surplus the requirements there, because as we know that they just spent this money on Haaland, maybe he's an option. I don't know if he is, but he's someone they might look at, and I think that's possibly a more viable, gettable player than some. They've got someone of enough quality to play in the Champions League. So you're setting the bar quite high to start with, aren't you?
Is it just on Harry Kane, and obviously it seems to have been extended week by week, month by month over the past week or so as to how long he'll be out with, and now seems as though he's a doubt for Euro 2020 for England. He had injury problems towards the end of last season as well, and of course ended up Champions League final, whether or not he was fully fit. I know they're different injuries, but is there a concern about Kane that maybe the amount of games he's played over the past 4 or 5 years is catching up with him?
Well, possibly, but the other injuries had all been ankle, hadn't they? This is completely different. This is accumulation of too many games, I think, probably. But it's utterly different to the other injuries he's had. They were all ankle injuries. And there is the big fear of Tottenham is he might have a weakness in those ligaments, potentially. It'll be, just some bad tackles can do damage to anyone, and no matter how fit you are. This one is, completely different to that. And no one knows when he'll be back. That's the question that he was asked last week, Mourinho. And he was honest. He said, I don't know. It could be April, it could be May, it could be next season. But he can say that because he genuinely doesn't know. And the reality, no one will know until Kane starts training again. And then they'll find out.
It's been a fairly...
Kane still seems very positive. His people are convinced he's back end of April to play the last three or four league games and then play the warm-up games for the Euros. That's what he is looking towards and believing is going to happen. But we don't know.
Well, they want to make sure that on those giant posters, advertising posters that are going to be plastered all over London next summer, that Harry Kane's on them.
You think that he might be big for England next summer? You think there's a possibility of that they might sell England on Harry Kane? No, I don't know where you get that idea from.
It's been a fairly drab 2020 so far for Spurs, Martin. The loss to Southampton on New Year's Day, the draw against Middlesbrough in the FA Cup, the game against Liverpool, and Mourinho's approach there, especially in the first half, didn't exactly have Spurs fans off their seats. And then the 0-0 draw away to Watford just gone. So I know you met Jose during his sabbatical and you felt he had his mojo back. How quickly are we descending back into haggard, cynical, angry Mourinho?
Well, he isn't actually, is he? He's played a little bit of showmanship. The stuff against Southampton about the coach, that was defensive. That was for him to make himself the story rather than being asked about how poorly his players have played. So I think he was quite smart in terms of defending the players, even if it does seem a bit over the top. He wasn't moaning on against Liverpool, really. He just said it should have been a throw for us for their goal, but that's what happened. He was right. It should have been, but guess what? It wasn't. Get on with it. And he didn't moan on much on regard for the Watford game, except suggesting that Captur should have been sent off, and he had a justification to say that Captur could have been sent off. He certainly wasn't moaning about the penalty that was conceded by Tottenham. I think he's become realistic about what he's got, which isn't a lot at the moment. They're a team that is a squad that's in desperate need of rejuvenation and new blood. Pochettino was right. They've been drained. They've been physically drained for 18 months. There's nothing left in the tank for a lot of them, and therefore they've got to be moved on. And Mourinho knows that. The issue is whether we'll be able to do that moving on in the summer, but it will have to be done.
Because he did make that point actually after the Liverpool game in the press conference. They were asking him about the contrast between the second half and the first half. Obviously the second half they went for it a bit more, they put Liverpool under a bit more pressure, made it a bit more uncomfortable for Liverpool, and as a consequence got some chances and were more in the game. And he was actually saying we didn't think we could take that approach for 90 minutes. A really interesting comment. I mean, it's kind of a typical thing for new managers to come in and say the new bunch aren't fit enough. Solskjaer did that when he took over from Mourinho, ironically. But what Mourinho's getting at here, in your opinion, is not that they're not fit enough, it's actually they're just drained, they're spent.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he is a manager who knows all about drained players, because that's what he normally leaves whenever he leaves a club. They're husks, aren't they, normally after 3 years of Mourinho, because he works them so hard. And Pochettino is, in some regards, albeit he's much less pragmatic a manager than Mourinho, but is of similar mindset in terms of just getting everything and demanding everything from his players. And there comes a point where that doesn't last. You've got to remember that Pochettino is a Bielsa disciple. Bielsa drains his players. We know that. It happens everywhere he's been. So it's no surprise that happens under Pochettino. The difference being, at most clubs, when players are gone, they get changed. They get they get fresh blood in. You get a movement in the squad. And Tottenham basically played the same team for 4 years. And the changes that are made have been made much of an impact, really, so far. I think it's fair to say. I mean, Lo Celso's started to play a little bit, and Ndombele's never fit, and Sessegnon's played just a couple of games. So, there are significant issues that were highlighted by Pochettino that haven't been addressed by Tottenham, and that you've got to lay at the hands of the manager for not demanding more change, and also the chairman for not making those changes. And Mourinho's just been left to pick up the pieces, and they are quite small pieces.
Any Everton fans listening in, they were on course to a 2-0 victory over Newcastle. 93 minutes gone, Florent Lejeune scores a consolation for Newcastle. 94 minutes gone, Florent Lejeune scores again. 2-2 at Goodison Park. Bit of a sickener for Everton.
It's just gone full time.
Mildly. What you're talking about there is a summer not of transition then at Tottenham. Like, it's a summer of absolute transformation if Mourinho is to rejuvenate this side and bring the energy back and bring them back to the levels that they're at. Is your sense and what you're hearing that Daniel Levy's prepared for that sort of transformation, that this is going to be a summer of a lot of comings and goings and a lot of money needing to be spent?
Well, he's got to be, because it's essential. I think they were looking to do more last summer. They didn't get the players out they were looking to. We know that was the case the previous summer, in that they wanted to get rid of Alderweireld and Rose. They would have sold Eriksen if it had been a proper bid this summer. It didn't come in. Now they're going to let him go for somewhat less than they could have got. They need a right back. They need a left back. They need at least one centre half. They need a proper holding midfielder. Now, maybe this boy Fernandes from Portugal, from Benfica, who's come in, might be that. But he's 21. We don't know. No one knows. I think they would probably let a couple of others go just to turn things around. But it needs to be done. There needs to be I won't say a whole new team, but I reckon a third of the squad needs to be changed.
What's this about a training ground bust-up with Danny Rose?
Well, I mean, Mourinho denies. What I would say is that Danny Rose is at best a complicated fella. Pochettino loved him for a long time, but then just had enough of the constant moaning. Rose has told Spurs, I don't want to play for you any longer, but I'm going to see out my contract. Well, if that's the case, and they don't want him at the club anymore, what do? You leave him out of the team. So he either gets so angry he wants out, or he starts playing better so he has to play. Well, I think that's what the policy is, that they're just going to try and play him at his own game. He's shown a lack of conviction and desire to play for Tottenham, so why should he be put in the team?
Because he was upset he didn't play against Watford. That was the genesis.
Well, the team he wanted to join. Or could have joined in the summer. Look, the fact is, he clearly didn't think he was fit enough, because he still would have played him instead of the young boy who's a right back or a centre half, and played him at left back instead, which is what he did. So Murray hasn't played enough football for about 2.5 years, has he? That injury he got 2.5 years ago at Sunderland has had a massive effect on his career. He's gone backwards physically and I think mentally since.
Wasn't it Rose who publicly complained about the low wages at Spurs relatively recently, and I think got an ovation in the Spurs dressing room?
Well, that's what he said. He said that happened, and I'm sure it's true. But there are people at Tottenham who deny that the second part of that. Okay, and
so a difficult, complicated character. Pochettino seemed to be able to reach him for a time.
Yeah, he did. He liked it because he felt he was someone who caused problems in the dressing rooms in the right way, and that he got everyone going. He made people spark off him and respond. Okay. But I think he was worn down by it by the end, because no manager wants constant conflict, and there was a view from some people with Danny that he was just too much hard work. Right. And the fact that he moans about the players who are brought in. If you're one of those players who's brought in and you're being told that your left back had to Google you, that doesn't make you feel great, does it? It was a rather needless comment, many people might think. I think others will say that he absolutely articulated the problems at Tottenham, so it can go both ways. But it's, some players are harder to deal with than others, because some people are harder to deal with than others. Like me.
Yeah, well, no doubt. Just one last one before you go. We're going to be playing some Ole Gunnar Solskjaer audio from his press conference today. What are you making of that in general terms, the heat that's on Solskjaer and Woodward at the moment? Are we coming to an end game, or is this going to linger on?
Well, everything you hear tells you that United are going to stick with him come hell or high water. And I think there must be fans of at least 5 other clubs in the Premier League who would be delighted to hear that. I'm not sure too many fans of United would be that keen to hear it. I think it's just a mess that's going to go on and get worse. I can't see any reason to think it's going to get better. It's just not very good. And I think that there's significant issues that haven't been addressed. Pogba obviously not playing at the moment, but he's a massive issue. Now Rashford's out for an indeterminate length of time. That genuinely could be months. I mean, we know backs are the most difficult thing to get right, and if you've got a back injury in your early 20s, that can be a significant problem. Centre half hasn't really been sorted out. The players they've got in the summer have at best been okay, but they haven't been, wow, he's brilliant. I mean, they may have found the left back in Williams from the academy, which is great, and he looks quite impressive, but he's still very young, and he's going to have to make some mistakes to learn from those. How far away are United from being Premier League winners? They are further away than they've been, I would argue, since before Alex Ferguson came into the club.
Yeah, probably very true. Martin, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much. Chief Sports Writer with The Sun. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Martin Lipton there. We're going to run you through all the full times, go around the grounds in just one moment.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Juff and Heskey.
Calling it with Ivan Yates.
Throughout the general election campaign, I'm drilling down into each and every one of the constituencies and calling it. 39 constituencies, 39 podcasts. The first 8 constituencies are now available at newstalk.com and on the Newstalk app.
Newstalk, the voice of the voter.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes, but for you and the community. For families, check out our kids' camps, sport academies and birthday parties. For adults, why not join our newly refurbished gym with a 50-metre swimming pool, or book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our athletics track, sports pitches and courts. And for companies, check out our team building days, conference facilities and events. All this and more at sportirelandcampus.ie.
Introducing the all-new Renault Captur. Whether you're hitting town or the open road, popping a mountain bike on the back or a buggy in the boot, it's the car for all your lives. And with savings of €3,500 guaranteed with Renault Carbon Rewards, you're rewarded for choosing a cleaner car. Visit your local Renault dealer today. Renault, voted Manufacturer of the Year by Top Gear. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
Have a great evening with itsforwomen.ie. Great value car insurance on the web, on demand, on the go. Itsforwomen.ie. It's always on hand. It's always online.
We interrupt this programme. We're facing a nationwide blackout.
The Prime Minister has called Cobra.
The situation is very grave.
This is a national crisis.
How long will this last?
We need power.
People in the worst affected areas will die.
Reports of increasing unrest, protests, assault.
When will the government take action?
Any comment, Prime Minister?
We will bring back power. We will turn the lights on again.
Cobra, a brand new Sky original. All episodes available now.
For 40 years, Finline Furniture have been making Ireland's finest sofas, chairs and corner groups from our factory in County Laois. The annual Finline Furniture January sale takes place in our showrooms in Dublin, Cork, Galway and Laois. Hugely reduced sale discount prices available for the month of January only. Thousands of fabrics available. See finlinefurniture.ie.
This 200-page report for your board meeting was printed using a branded ink cartridge. And this 200-page report was printed using a high-grade ink cartridge from inkjet.ie. What's the difference? Oh, about €15. Get quality ink cartridges from just €2 and fast delivery at inkjet.ie.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Now, welcome back. Joe Molloy, Nathan Murphy with you here in the Football Show. Still Chelsea 1, Arsenal 0, an hour on the clock at Stamford Bridge. Meanwhile, it's gone full time in the other 5 games. We'll run you through how they went now. We have Lee Stott at Bramall Lane. This was Sheffield United, Manchester City.
Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1. A goal from substitute Sergio Aguero has moved him past Frank Lampard into 4th in the all-time Premier League scorers list. He tapped in from a wonderful Kevin De Bruyne cross from the right. The player he came on for, Gabriel Jesus, had earlier had a penalty saved by the impressive Dean Henderson in what was a fairly even contest for the majority of the game. Full-time, Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1.
There'll be no shift in Aguero yet. He's hanging on in there, to say the least.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see at what stage do they go again for a replacement, or do they feel that maybe behind the scenes Jesus is starting to do enough? Like, it does feel for a club of Manchester City's stature that when Aguero goes, either say 18 months time, where you're definitely going to need somebody else, like, is that a 200 million quid signing you're going to have to go in for? Or do you go for Erling Haaland? Well, maybe in 2 years' time Erling Haaland is worth 200 million quid.
Yeah. Everton and Newcastle you mentioned. So Goodison Park, Everton thought they were cruising. That did not turn out to be the case. Shane Pennington.
It's finished Everton 2, Newcastle United 2. The most ridiculous of finishes here at Goodison Park. Everton absolutely cruising towards 3 points when Moise Keane's got their first goal, and then they doubled that advantage courtesy of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Then Dubravka kept Newcastle in it with a string of fine saves, and in injury time we played 4 minutes of it. In 93, first Florent Lejeune, a substitute, got the ball in the back of the net with a nice overhead kick after Everton had failed to clear the corner, and then 30 seconds later the same player, Lejeune, has smashed the ball into the back of the net. Despite the best efforts of Jordan Pickford, the ball had crossed the line, and Newcastle have just got a point out of nowhere. Everton 2, Newcastle 2.
Next to the Vitality Stadium, this was Bournemouth very much in need of 3 points in Wilding there.
Full-time AFC Bournemouth 3, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. A massive win for the Cherries despite still staying in the drop zone. Harry and Callum Wilson scored either side of a gross own goal, and despite a late goal from Moy in the last 10 minutes for the Seagulls, it's Bournemouth who win. Brighton really starting to look over their shoulders themselves at the bottom end of the Premier League table. Full-time Bournemouth 3, Brighton and Hove Albion 1.
So that's a big night for Eddie Howe and Bournemouth. 3-1 winners this evening. Meanwhile, we're watching Chelsea-Arsenal in front of us here. 64 minutes on the clock, and this happened to Chelsea to some extent against Newcastle. It's happened to them again this evening. Sucker punched.
Totally against the run of play. One end of the pitch to the other. It was a Chelsea corner, headed clear, picked up by Martinelli, 10 yards outside his own penalty area. He sets off, head down, takes a heavy touch with his second touch. It goes about 15 yards in front of him as he's going over the halfway line. And the Chelsea player, Kante, slips as he's going to tackle. So suddenly Martinelli finds himself clear through on goal, still half the pitch to run. Brilliant finish, calm as you like, brings it into the penalty area, right-footed, underneath the goalkeeper. He's only a year older than Troy Parrott. Look at what he's doing. But this was, Chelsea had 2 penalty appeals in the last 10 minutes for handball that weren't given. Starting to lay siege to Arsenal again, and like that is against the run of play, a goal, as you will see. And N'Golo Kante, you're just watching it, expecting him to step across, take control of the situation, and just loses his footing completely.
It's the closest thing I've ever seen to the Steven Gerrard slip. Around halfway, the ball is his. Goes. Goal.
This time Chelsea on the receiving end, though.
Oh, yes. Did you
Not
hear,
quite as important.
Did you hear Carragher and Gerrard on the podcast?
No, I downloaded it on the flight home from Liverpool on Sunday, and then I put on my airplane mode, press play, and the bloody thing hadn't downloaded properly.
Killer,
no, an hour.
Moment, killer moment. It's good, actually, very good. They talked
I've heard it's brilliant that Gerrard's very open.
Dropping F-bombs all over the place.
Right.
Yeah, very relaxed.
That's your clearest sign that somebody's relaxed.
100%. Yeah, no, so he was talking about all that, talking about how really he probably hadn't recovered until Liverpool won the Champions League last year. That sense of,
that he felt
the fans are happy now.
Right.
Yeah. It was good.
That sense of letting down the club.
And they both are about 3 times more Scouser talking to each other than they are in normal life.
Well, that was one of the most interesting parts of the Carragher-Keane scrap, was that they both went more Scouts and more Cork as it went on.
Crystal Palace at home to Southampton. Yeah, a bit of a wobble there. I was saying, you slaughtered Mourinho, is what I was actually saying. Crystal Palace at home to Southampton. Peter Hood at Sellers Park.
Crystal Palace 0, Southampton 2. A football lesson handed out by the visitors today here at Selhurst Park. The goals came from Redmond and Armstrong, both good strikes from outside the penalty area, and total domination also went with that scoreline. There were plenty of other efforts on goal that could have doubled, trebled that scoreline, as Palace were lacklustre throughout, far too deep and totally outplayed. Palace 0, Southampton 3.
Well, the Southampton resurgence continues. Obafemi played 84 minutes this evening. Shane Long played 70 minutes. He went off for Danny Ings, but a good win for Southampton. Now, this Aston Villa game at Villa Park, we heard the Villa faithful were abusing the Villa team, frankly, at one stage when Watford were 1-0 up. Things did turn around. Tom Gale at Villa Park.
Full-time, Aston Villa 2, Watford 1. Again, Dean Smith's men could not lose, and they waited until the 95th minute before the unlikely source of Ezri Konsa secured all 3 points with a 95th minute winner. They'll take their deflected effort. They haven't had much luck this season. They are out of the bottom 3. Watford will be gutted. Troy Deeney had a couple of opportunities to put the game to bed. The visiting captain was sent home with chance of Deeney, what's the score? Full-time, Aston Villa 2, Watford 1.
Have that, Deeney.
Is Troy Deeney an actual figure of hatred, or is there underlying respect for him. I'm never quite sure.
Oh, I would have thought the latter, no? Good character.
But he loves to give it.
He does, yeah. And he loves, I mean, I think it's a likability. He's interesting. Even last year when he was like, I love playing against Arsenal, he just bullied them.
Yeah. No cojones.
Everyone enjoyed
balls.
That. Yeah. And even a couple of weeks ago on the pitch, he was talking about, real pressure was growing up with no job and all that stuff. So I think it's
that was
good
a
nature.
big goal for Villa. I just watched it there. Ezri Konsa, 94 minutes, 40 seconds, 4 minutes of injury time. Ball comes back to him, edge of the area, side foots it. Another reporter said there was a deflection. I didn't spot that, but side foots it straight into the top corner. And like this is one of those nights, suddenly you're looking at that relegation battle.
Yes.
Quite different. So Norwich bottom, 17 points, play tomorrow night. Watford back, second from bottom. You've 3 teams all on 23 points. Watford and Bournemouth, they're both in the relegation zone on goal difference. West Ham just out of it on goal difference. They do have 2 games in hand. Villa, 2 clear in 25. Brighton, 3 clear in 26. Burnley, 4 clear in 27. Newcastle, I think Newcastle will have enough. Watching them against Chelsea the last night, like defensively, they've a back 3 and they've options. Like Lejeune is there, Kieran Clark's playing good football. Fabian Schär is probably the best of them and is in and out of the side. Lascelles is a proper leader of that team.
And even against Chelsea and then again this evening, a very nice habit of picking up points you don't necessarily deserve.
Yeah, very good at a smash and grab. Thinking right back to the start of the season at Spurs when Joe Linton scored pretty much his only goal and like were battered for the entire game and nicked it.
Joel, as Steve Bruce calls him.
Joel.
Not fully understanding his name, but just Joel.
Joel.
So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was talking to the media today. Obviously, I don't know, did you see Ian Wright last night in BBC was really having a go at Solskjaer and saying he put his needs before Rashford's. Like it's his fault Rashford is injured effectively is what is being said over the last 24 hours. So naturally Solskjaer today in the press conference is being asked about his decision-making, his handling of Marcus Rashford.
He won't be fit for this game, that's for sure. He will be out for a while. He'll get the time he needs to recover, and we're always looking at improving the squad and see if there's anything out there, but nothing that I can talk about now.
Was it a pre-existing problem, or was it something that did sort of crop up against Wolves?
It's he's not had that injury before. No, he complained a little bit after what was it? But last time we played Burnley, he felt it the first time, and we managed him well as we could. Then he was had some days off with treatment. We took him off in some games. He didn't start every game, and then suddenly this was a new injury. So he didn't have any injuries before then. No.
How is he? Because it's obviously a blow, considering he's playing the best football of his career.
Yeah, no, but Marcus is good. He's a positive guy, and he knows that this is not what he wanted, but he's always positive. He wants to get back as quickly as possible, but as safely as possible. So we'll give him that time, and when he feels ready and medically we've cleared him, he'll be back. For me now we've lost to Liverpool, a team that you all say are fantastic, and we've been in the game until the last kick of the ball. And for me, that strides forward. Of course, we're disappointed losing the game. We don't want to be behind them in the league, but there are signs there that we are on the right track, definitely. And for me, now is not the time to start talking about the recruitment. For me now, I think we're looking towards the next game against Burnley. Yeah, we're always looking to improve the squad. We're looking to improve the club. But for my mind, now is not the time, Gary, to start that discussion.
That latter point where he's talking about recruitment, as you heard by the reference to Gary there, he was asked about Gary Neville on his Sky Sports podcast. We played the clip last night saying that, frankly, Ed Woodward effectively has to go. He was talking about the hierarchy and the recruitment, and really, for 7 years of work to be where they are, how can someone keep their job? That was basically what Neville was saying. Mark Ogden, on that point, senior football writer with ESPN on the show Plenty, He tweeted this today, which is, I'm sure, relevant. He says, for all the criticism directed at Ed Woodward recently, it's worth noting that the Manchester United share price has gone from $15.33 in October to $20.25 today. That will always be a big tick in his favour with the Glazers. He's the safest man at Old Trafford.
Yeah, if you bring the value of the world's richest club up by a third, I think you're going to do all right. But that's not what we believe football to be. It's not what Manchester United supporters believe football to be. And there should be no reason why the two can't go hand in hand.
Really,
and it does feel as though that the financial side of it should be hitting some sort of a tipping point for Manchester United, that how can the growth continue? Maybe the overseas markets, the Asian markets, the sponsorship deals keep going, but not having Champions League football for a sustained period of time has got to lead to a reduction in crowds at some stage, that people go, actually, we've had enough of this.
Well, the crowds are down. Jonathan Northcott had a piece 2-3 weeks ago in the Times, I mentioned it last night I think as well, where last season was the lowest crowd since 2010, and they're on course to have lower crowds again this year. And even for the City game in the Carabao Cup, there were 7,000 empty seats, which wasn't overly talked about, as you can imagine. But that was in the knowledge that season ticket holders were not going to show up. They put a load of tickets on general sale, 66 pence sterling if you wanted to go along. And people said, nah, don't need to go and watch us get beaten by City.
Well, you'd see that on the flights and talking to supporters at the weekends as well. It is impossible to get a ticket for Liverpool. They're just not available. That all the tickets that usually a lot of the Scandinavian supporters wouldn't come to every game, but you have to use the tickets, they're coming now to every single match. Whereas at Manchester United, any amount of tickets, like people coming over 2-3 spares, or you have season ticket, but I was going 10-12 times a season, I'm going 4 or 5 this year, and can't get people to take the tickets off them back in Ireland as they would have quite easily. So does that eventually have a long-term effect?
It must. It absolutely must. Troy Deeney, a lot of people tweeting in with this, by the way, is a Birmingham City fan, hence the Villa chance.
He seems to have some sort of an association with every other club, though.
Deeney's from Birmingham, he's a Blues fan. Troy Deeney's a massive Birmingham City fan. There. That was the reason.
Fair enough.
You were at Anfield on Sunday, by the way, I haven't talked to you about this, so the extent or otherwise to which there was or wasn't a gulf is the discussion point.
I thought there was
Solskjaer, we had them
enormous.
up until the last kick of the game. We had them
nonsense,
on the rack.
Absolute nonsense.
I thought United played okay.
I heard your chat with David Myler after the game, and I just wasn't seeing a lot of that.
Really?
It could have been 6-2 by the end of the match, and it would have been absolutely fair. I did think that Liverpool for the 10 minutes after half time was possibly as good as they played under Klopp. It was everything he's ever wanted them to be. Pushed right high up the pitch. United couldn't escape no matter what they tried to do. Long ball, short ball, they had them on the rack, and you felt if Salah had taken that chance that it could well have ended up 4 or 5. Likewise, after they got the first goal and Firmino's goal was disallowed, if Wijnaldum was just offside, if they'd got the second there, that United would have capitulated, that the energy of the place was like that. And United had 2 spells. They had 5 minutes before half time where Pereira should have scored, and then they had that 15 minutes where it was almost that Liverpool were so on top that they just couldn't get their heart rate down again to try and control the game and be composed like they have been in recent weeks. David touched it, like Lallana came on, you expected to settle things down. Couldn't get up to the pace of the game at all. That's when Fred really started to come into it. And they had chances, but Liverpool are at a level now that they're going to have to get used to the expectation and the criticism that they haven't conceded a goal in 7 Premier League matches. So 2 months ago, the criticism was defensively, are they where you want them to be? Not quite where they were last season, conceding a few more goals. Now they're not doing that, and it's conceding chances though. As if they should be at a level where you don't even concede opportunities during games. That's always going to happen. Listen, there were good chances for Pereira
Martial
in particular. You need to keep your composure.
I think if Martial had taken that chance, United might have hung on for a 1-1.
Quite possibly. And listen, they showed, again, the one thing you wouldn't... the players haven't stopped playing from. There's a lot of character there. There's a lot of players who want to do their best for United.
And there was a plan, and the players knew what the plan was, so that's encouraging.
It didn't come off anywhere near the extent of the game at Old Trafford. So the plan again was, and you saw first 10 minutes, Lindelof steps across to the right-hand side. And Wan-Bissaka's up inside the Liverpool half, like trying to keep Robertson back. And that worked for sort of 15 minutes. But then after that, like touched on it earlier, Wan-Bissaka was all over the place.
Yeah, it certainly worked better on the left-hand side. See, that's the tricky thing when you're a manager and you're Solskjaer. You're looking at Bissaka and you're looking at Robertson, and really, you're just hoping against hope that somehow Bissaka comes out on top of this duel.
They also shouldn't be judged overly, Manchester United, on that game. All right, you do because of the historic significance that, oh my God, there's suddenly this huge gulf. There's not many teams that play like Liverpool. There's not many teams that are at that level. United's problem is, like, they've lost to West Ham and Newcastle, and
I was surprised
the games where they have a bit more of the ball.
The King Carragher thing and all this stuff about Solskjaer, I was surprised there was such a reaction to that game, because my sense with Myler, and we played it out last night in the football show, so people might have heard that as well, was, well, this isn't like a nail in Solskjaer's coffin, this performance. This is okay. I mean, it's a sign of complete Stockholm syndrome for United fans that this is the level that they're pitching at. That it was okay.
Walking out going 2-0, could have been worse. And absolutely.
But in the context of this season and Solskjaer's reign, it was fine.
No, the areas where you look for improvement, and United, I just don't think United can be a counter-attacking team. Like,
no,
whatever about the Manchester United way.
Yeah.
Like, they need to have possession and controlling midfielders. And like, even Liverpool, like, Klopp may have initially set them up, it was never counter-attacking. It was high energy and it was breaking ball in midfield. Like, never seen better than at the weekend with Oxlade-Chamberlain and Wijnaldum and Henderson. But United, you feel, need to be a team who, at home in particular, dominate teams, just swarm all over them.
Correct. And I know people have texted in and say, the amount of times United have been a counter-attacking team under Ferguson, and you think of like games like the Ronaldo goal against Arsenal in the Champions League, and absolutely they had counter-attacking, Kanchelskis gigs right back to the 90s. But by the same token, they then at home would dominate Everton and not draw with them. They would dominate possession then, which is what you're saying. They can do both.
Absolutely. And like that's what Liverpool can do right now.
Yeah.
I just thought Liverpool were exceptional for periods of it. Like Van Dijk again. Like Van Dijk could be Footballer of the Year again. Like, there's no overwhelming favourite. I do think actually, if you wanted to bet on it, Jordan Henderson is 20-1.
Dark horse, yeah.
Could gain some momentum very quickly. Like Sadio Mane is favourite at the moment. But Van Dijk did nothing wrong for the first 4 or 5 months of the season, just didn't really stand out as much, and Liverpool were conceding goals. But that game, every single ball that United played in, like, it's not luck. It's not good fortune that he's in the right place at the right time. Like, there's a reason.
Yeah.
And even in the first half when they were playing the low balls in, like stepping out a couple of times when they tried to break, stepped out in front of Daniel James. Like that was in that 10-minute spell when I was trying to see whether United had touched the ball in the Liverpool half.
Yeah.
There was a ball played through to James. It's almost a perfect ball. He just steps across.
No. He looks like a 16-year-old playing under 14s. It's incredible. We should check in on events at Stamford Bridge. Nigel Bidmead.
Chelsea 1, Arsenal 1. Terrific contest here at the Bridge with 10-man Arsenal really up for it. Their equaliser came on 63 when Martinelli broke away. Kante slipped on halfway and the Brazilian teenager kept his cool to slot home. Chelsea have had chances, but it's 1-1.
Yeah, Barkley just had a good chance there. He flicked a header. It was well saved. I should tell you, by the way, that tomorrow night, Off the Ball's American Football Show, The Snap, is going to be on the road in association with the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. So Mike Carlson's coming in from the stage, which is great. Mossy Quinn's going to be there joining Ger. Ronan Mullen, Keane Fahey will be building up to Super Bowl 54. They'll be live from the NFL room at the Woolshed in Dublin. It's completely sold out, we're happy to say, but we will bring you some highlights from the show over the next few days, so look out for those. All in association with the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, which is Navy versus Notre Dame at the Aviva Stadium on August 29th. And you can get tickets for that at collegefootballireland.com. Back in just 1 sec.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
From watching the whales dance offshore in San Francisco to sampling the delicious street food of Mexico or exploring the historical heritage of Beijing. Wherever in the world you want to be, you can get there from your doorstep with KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. Book your dream deal at klm.ie by January 21st and fly via Amsterdam from Dublin or Cork Airport. Make your dream a reality with KLM.
The Harvey Norman Big Sale ends this weekend. Don't miss your chance to upgrade your home appliances for less in our big sale. And get them now with interest-free finance terms. Save €100 on the Bosch 9kg washing machine. Now just €469. Or €94 per fortnight with FlexiFi. Or save €370 on the Smeg stainless steel dishwasher, now €529 or €45 per month with Flexify. The Harvey Norman Big Sale. Don't miss out.
Go! Whatever the event, OmaraCamping.com have a tent. We've got pop-up tents for pop-up businesses. We've got exhibition tents for exhibitions. We've got garden tents for garden events. And we've got camping tents for camping. OmaraCamping.com have party tents for parties and big party tents for big parties. Like our 50-person party tent, 20 feet by 10 feet and only €399 with free delivery. So for everything tents, check out OmaraCamping.com. For every event, OmaraCamping.com have a tent.
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky, little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a pink one and a green one and a blue one and a yellow one, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky and they all look just the same.
Newness and Duke don't be just the same.
It's kind of daunting.
You are not just you
anymore. No, I know. I totally agree now that we're us, you know, that it should be done. It's definitely something.
It's definitely something to consider.
Well, actually, not consider, to do, because it's the right thing to do, to look after each other no matter what happens.
No one should spend time thinking about the worst things that can happen. That's why VHI has made setting up life insurance simple. Search VHI Life and get a quick quote, or call us on 1890 444444. VHI Healthcare DAC trading as VHI Healthcare is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to Zurich Life Assurance plc for VHI Life Term Insurance.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back. So we're just watching a replay of Tammy Abraham, who's gone down really holding his ankle area, his shin area. Oh, I think it came off the hoarding, his right boot.
He was just nudged in the back by Rob Holding as he's going over the end line. And I think as just he's coming to the hoarding, he tries to stop himself by putting his foot up to the hoarding. And his ankle just seems to go. Chelsea have scored. Abraham got back on the pitch. He's dropped to the ground. Azpilicueta, cross from the Chelsea left-hand side. Azpilicueta gets there at the near post. Chelsea back in front.
For all Abraham's lying on the ground as his team are celebrating. So he's got up again. He's got up again.
Make up your mind.
2-1 Chelsea. They have 5 minutes to see that one out. 2-1 Chelsea. We are pretty much done for this evening. Our daily breakfast sports show back tomorrow 7:30. All our social channels, listen to it on OTB Sports Radio via the Go Loud app. Ger and Owen have Ronan Kelleher in tomorrow, which will be very good, talking about his injury and maybe even the idea of a draft for provincial rugby in Ireland. Fallon Sherrock was very much the story at the darts over the Christmas period. She's on the show as well. And Damien Delaney. So the lads are stacked with good stuff tomorrow. We're back at 7. Have some interesting things for you. Stay tuned. Won't give away too much in the meantime. Tom Dunn is on the way next. Good luck.